I used to think pain was something you could push through. That is what they taught us anyway. I was just a regular high school senior looking forward to graduation, dreaming about college living, what I thought was a normal life. I loved sports, loved staying active. But that summer before my final year, something started feeling wrong in my right leg. A dull ache that never quite went away. I figured it was just a sports injury, something that would heal on its own with rest. I thought I could handle it. I was wrong. Dead wrong. And the person who should have helped me the most became the one who nearly destroyed me. Before I tell you what happened next, I want to know, are you watching from a place where you felt ignored when you needed help the most? Drop your location below and hit that like button. And subscribe, because this story gets darker before it gets better. Let me take you back to September of my senior year. That is when Coach Harrison entered my life. Coach Harrison was not someone you wanted to cross. The man was built like he still played football, all muscle and intimidation. He was around 45 years old, a former linebacker for our school back in his glory days. He kept his hair in a tight military buzz, cut his beard peppered with gray, and he always wore that crimson-red polo shirt with our school logo and gleaming white sneakers. He carried a whistle around his neck like a badge of authority. Everyone knew his philosophy: no pain, no gain. Winners do not quit. Excuses are for losers. I respected him at first. I thought he was the kind of coach who could make you stronger, push you past your limits. Our physical education class met every morning in the indoor basketball court. 30 students, the smell of sweat and rubber floors, the squeak of sneakers echoing off the walls. I wanted him to see me as tough as someone who could handle whatever he threw at us. The second week of September, everything changed. We were running the mile around the track. Standard warm-up, nothing unusual. But halfway through, around the 8th minute, my right leg started screaming. Not the usual muscle fatigue. This was different. Sharp, stabbing. Like someone was driving a hot nail through my shin bone straight down to the ankle. I tried to push through it, tried to keep running because that is what you do. Right? You do not show weakness. But by the time I hit that 8th minute, I could not take another step. I limped over to where Coach Harrison stood with his clipboard and stopwatch. "Coach, I need to sit out. My leg. Something is not right," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. He looked down at me, eyes narrowing. "You pull a muscle." "I do not think so. It has been hurting for a while, since summer." His expression shifted, not to concern, to annoyance. "Since summer, and you are just telling me now?" I sat down on the bleachers and he pressed his thumb into the spot where the pain was worst. I winced, my face contorting. He stood back up, shaking his head like I was wasting his time. "Feels fine to me. Probably just growing pains. You are, 17, still shooting up. Walk it off." Growing pains. The words felt dismissive, but part of me wanted to believe him. He had been coaching for over 2 decades. Maybe he knew something I did not. Maybe I was overthinking it. I nodded and sat out the rest of class, icing my leg and wondering if he was right. The next week, Coach Harrison expected me back at full capacity. We did jumping jacks, lunges, wind sprints. Every time I slowed down or showed any sign of discomfort, his whistle would pierce the air. "Brennan, keep moving. You think college scouts care about your excuses." I did not understand why he called me by the wrong last name, but I did not correct him. I just tried to keep up. The pain was getting worse, though. Sharp jolts that made me catch my breath. At night, I could barely sleep. The throbbing was constant pulsing with every heartbeat. My mom noticed. She wrote a note to Coach Harrison requesting that I be allowed to sit out PE temporarily so I could see a doctor about my leg. I brought the note to his office after class one afternoon. He sat behind his desk, arms crossed, reading the paper my mom had carefully written. Then he did something I will never forget. He laughed, not a friendly laugh, a mocking one. "Your mom thinks you need a doctor. For what a little ache. It is getting worse, Coach. I can barely sleep some nights." He leaned forward, his eyes hard. You know what I think, Will? I think you are looking for an easy way out. Senior year slump. I have seen it 100 times. Kids who were tough suddenly go soft because graduation is around the corner. Then he did it. He ripped the note in half. Right in front of me. Tore it clean down the middle and tossed it in the trash. Tell your mom you do not need a doctor. You need to toughen up. I stood there frozen. I could not believe what had just happened. A school official had just dismissed my mother's concern and destroyed her written request. I felt powerless. He was the authority figure. I was just a student. What could I do? I picked up the 2 torn pieces from his trash can and walked out humiliated and angry and confused. That night I lay in bed, my leg throbbing with a pain that felt like it was eating me from the inside. Every heartbeat sent a fresh wave of agony up my shin. I grabbed my phone and searched online. Persistent leg pain teenager. Shin pain that would not go away. The results ranged from stress fractures to shin splints to things that terrified me. Bone infections. Bone cancer. I tried to push those thoughts away. Coach Harrison said it was nothing. He had decades of experience. He knew athletes. He knew injuries. He had to be right. But a small voice in the back of my mind whispered, "What if he is wrong?" I ignored that voice. I should not have, because the next 3 weeks would prove that sometimes the people in authority are the most dangerous ones of all. Over the next 3 weeks, my life became a nightmare I could not wake up from. Coach Harrison seemed determined to prove that I was faking, that I was weak, that I needed to be broken down and rebuilt. He called it character building week. I called it hell. The first week he ramped up the intensity. 2-mile runs instead of 1. Wall sits for 3 minutes at a time, our thighs burning. 50 burpees in a row without stopping. My leg felt like it was on fire with every impact, every movement. But I gritted my teeth and pushed through because I did not want to be called a quitter. I did not want to prove him right. My best friend Ethan started noticing. After class one day, he pulled me aside in the locker room. "Dude, you're limping bad. You okay?" "Yeah, just... Coach says it is normal." "That does not look normal, man. You should see a doctor." I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But I was scared. Scared of what Coach would say. Scared of being seen as weak. Scared that maybe, just maybe, he was right, and it really was all in my head. By the second week, I could not hide it anymore. I limped even when I was just walking to class. During math, Mrs. Patterson stopped mid-lesson and asked if I needed to see the nurse. I said no. I was terrified that if I went, Coach would find out and make things worse. My leg had started swelling. Not much, but enough that I could see it. The skin felt hot to the touch, angry and inflamed. Even sitting still hurt. The third week was when Coach Harrison went too far. He started calling me out in front of the entire class, making an example of me. Look at Brennan dragging himself around like he is 80 years old. Is this what champions look like? Some of the other students laughed. Not mean-spirited, just uncomfortable laughter because nobody knew what else to do when a teacher mocks someone. I felt my face burn with shame. I wanted to disappear. Dylan, a kid from the football team, spoke up. "Coach, he is really hurt. I can see it." Coach whirled on him. "Mind your own business, Rodriguez, unless you want extra laps, too." Dylan shut up. Everyone did, because when Coach Harrison used that tone, you listened. Then came Thursday of the 4th week, fitness testing day, required for graduation, push-ups, sit-ups, and the mile run. I managed the push-ups and sit-ups, though every movement sent shockwaves through my leg. But when we lined up for the mile run, I knew I was in trouble. I stood at the starting line, my leg trembling beneath me. Coach Harrison blew his whistle and everyone took off. I started running, trying to ignore the pain. But 10 strides in it felt like someone had taken a knife and jammed it into my shin. I stopped, grabbed my leg, sat down right there on the track. Coach Harrison came running over, his face red with fury. "What are you doing?" "Coach, I cannot. It hurts too much. Please, I need to see a doctor." He bent down, got right in my face. "You need to see a therapist." This is psychological will. You are scared. You are making excuses because you do not want to try. Tears welled up in my eyes. From the pain, from the humiliation, from the sheer frustration of not being believed. I am not making it up. Something is really wrong. Coach Harrison pointed at my head, his finger inches from my forehead. It is all in your head, son. All in your head. The entire class had stopped. Everyone was watching. 30 pairs of eyes on me while I sat on the ground crying, being told my pain was imaginary. Now, get up and finish that mile or you fail this class. Your choice. I tried. I swear I tried. I stood up, my leg shaking so badly I could barely balance. I started running again, each step pure agony. I made it 50 yards. Just 50 yards. Then my leg gave out. The pain exploded. Not just in my leg anymore. It shot up my spine into my chest behind my eyes. My vision tunneled. The gymnasium lights became fuzzy, distant stars. I heard screaming. It took me a second to realize the sound was coming from me. I collapsed. My head hit the hardwood floor with a sickening thud that echoed through the gym. Students started yelling. Ethan was suddenly there, shaking my shoulder, calling my name. I was conscious but could not move. The pain had paralyzed me. I just lay there staring up at the ceiling tiles, wondering if I was dying. Coach Harrison was kneeling beside me now, and for the first time he looked scared. Will, can you hear me? I managed to whisper, barely audible. Told you, not in my head. He turned to the students. Someone call 911 now. As my vision started to blur as the pain dragged me toward unconsciousness, I felt a strange mix of emotions. Fear, relief that someone finally believed me, anger that it had to come to this. The last thing I remember before everything went black was Coach Harrison's face hovering over me. For the first time since I had met him, he looked genuinely terrified. I woke up in the back of an ambulance. Sirens blaring. Radio chatter crackling from the front where the paramedics worked. An EMT was leaning over me, her face kind but serious. Stay with me, buddy. We are almost there. I could hear my mom's voice over a speaker somewhere. Is he okay? Please, is my son okay? I looked down at my leg. It was wrapped in bandages, but I could still feel the pain radiating through every nerve. I did not know it yet, but I was about to find out just how catastrophically wrong Coach Harrison had been. The emergency room was bright and cold and smelled like antiseptic. Dr. Ramirez, a woman in her 50s with dark hair pulled into a neat bun and gentle eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, examined me with careful hands. She ordered x-rays first, then blood tests. I watched her face as she studied the x-ray images on the light board. Her expression shifted from concentration to concern. We need an MRI. Immediately. My mom, who had arrived at the hospital within 20 minutes of getting the call, grabbed my hand. Her eyes were swollen from crying. What is it? What is wrong? Dr. Ramirez turned to us, her voice measured. I do not want to speculate until we have clearer images, but I need to see exactly what is happening inside that bone. The MRI machine was loud and claustrophobic, banging noises that sounded like construction work happening inches from my head. I had to lie perfectly still for 30 minutes while the machine created detailed pictures of my leg. The whole time, fear gnawed at me. What if it was cancer? What if I lost my leg? What if Coach Harrison had been so wrong that his mistake cost me everything? An hour later, Dr. Ramirez returned with an iPad showing images I could barely understand. Lots of gray and white and dark spots. She sat down beside my bed and her face told me everything before she even spoke. Will you have a severe bone infection in your tibia? It is called osteomyelitis. Based on these images, it has likely been developing for months. My mom gasped. Months? The stress fracture made it much worse. Will you have been running and exercising on a broken infected leg? How did this happen? My mom asked, her voice shaking. Usually from untreated injuries. The body tries to heal, but if there is bacteria present and the injury keeps getting aggravated, infection sets in. Dr. Ramirez looked at me directly. Did you report this pain to anyone? A coach school nurse. That is when I told them everything. About Coach Harrison, about how he dismissed my pain for weeks, about the note he ripped up, about him calling me a faker, telling me it was all in my head. My mom's face went through several emotions: shock, disbelief, then pure cold fury. That man told my son his pain was fake. Dr. Ramirez's jaw tightened. This should have been caught weeks ago. The symptoms Will described are classic signs of a serious problem. My mom stood up, her whole body trembling. She turned to me and I saw tears streaming down her face. Sweetheart, I am so sorry. I should have pushed harder. I should have taken you to the doctor myself. Note or no note. It is not your fault, Mom. I believed him too. I thought I was being weak. She pulled me into a hug, careful not to jostle my leg. You are not weak. You are the strongest person I know. You have been dealing with this pain for months and still trying to keep going. Dr. Ramirez cleared her throat gently. I need to be honest with you both. This is serious. We need emergency surgery tonight. The infection is spreading through the bone. Without immediate intervention, Will could lose the leg. In extreme cases, this type of infection can become life-threatening. The words hit like a physical blow. Lose my leg. Life-threatening. This was not growing pains. This was not all in my head. This was real, and it was dangerous, and Coach Harrison had been so catastrophically wrong that he had nearly killed me. Do the surgery. My mom said, her voice steady now despite the tears. Do whatever you need to do. Save my son's leg. We will do everything we can, Dr. Ramirez promised. My mom looked at me, then back at the doctor. Her voice dropped to something cold and determined. And after this, I am going to make sure that Coach never does this to another child again. They wheeled me into the operating room at 9 o'clock that night. The lights were blindingly bright. The smell of sterilizing solution burned my nose. A nurse placed a mask over my face, and I felt the anesthesia start to pull me under. Just before I lost consciousness, I managed to ask one more question. Doctor, will I be able to walk again? Dr. Ramirez squeezed my shoulder. We will do our best. Will, we will do our very best. Then everything went dark. I woke up the next morning in a recovery room. My leg was encased in a cast from my knee to my ankle. My mom was sitting in a chair beside the bed, her eyes red-rimmed but smiling when she saw me open my eyes. You are okay, baby. You made it. My throat was dry. My leg. They saved it. Dr. Ramirez said the surgery went well. They had to remove the infected tissue and place a drainage tube. You will need intravenous antibiotics for 2 weeks, then oral antibiotics for 6 months. But Will, you will walk again. Relief flooded through me so powerfully I started crying. My mom held my hand, crying with me. We had come so close to losing everything because one person refused to listen. 3 days later, I was still in the hospital when Coach Harrison came to visit. The school principal had given him permission, saying he wanted to apologize. When he walked into my room, he looked different. Older. Tired. The confidence that usually surrounded him like armor was gone. Will, I came to see how you are doing. My mom stood up from her chair like a guard dog. Her voice was ice. How he is doing. He almost lost his leg because of you. I did not know. You did not listen. He told you, multiple times. I sent you a note, and what did you do? You ripped it up and called him a faker. Coach Harrison looked at me, his face pale. Will, I am sorry. I truly am. I thought I was teaching you resilience. I interrupted him. My voice weak from the surgery, but steady with conviction. You thought wrong, Coach. You did not teach me resilience. You taught me that people in power can hurt you and get away with it. My mom picked up her iPad and pulled up the MRI images Dr. Ramirez had sent her. She turned the screen toward Coach Harrison. "See this. This is what my son was dealing with while you called him weak. A bone infection, a fracture, not all in his head, in his bone." Coach Harrison stared at the images. His face went from pale to gray. He looked like he might be sick. I had no idea it was this serious." "You should have," I said. "That is your job, to look after students, not break them down when they ask for help." He had no response to that. He stood there for a long moment, then slowly backed toward the door. Before he left, he turned one last time. "I will accept whatever consequences come. I am truly sorry, Will." I did not respond. I just turned my head away. Some apologies come too late. The following week, the school board launched an investigation. They discovered that I was not the first student Coach Harrison had dismissed when they reported pain. There had been 2 other cases over the years, though none as severe as mine. The pattern was clear. The school had no choice. Coach Harrison was suspended immediately. 2 weeks later, he resigned. The school said it was voluntary, but everyone knew the truth. He was forced out. The school also implemented a new policy. Any student reporting persistent pain during physical education must be evaluated by the school nurse, and if the pain continues, a doctor's note is required before they can return to full activity. I did not feel victorious. I did not feel happy that Coach Harrison lost his job. But I felt something close to closure. Justice is not always about revenge. Sometimes it is just about making sure the same mistake does not happen again. Justice did not feel like victory. It felt like closure, like I could finally start healing. Not just my leg, but everything else Coach Harrison had broken inside me. The first 2 months after surgery were the hardest. I spent most of my time in a wheelchair, then graduated to crutches. Physical therapy 3 times a week, working to rebuild the muscle that had atrophied learning to walk without a limp. My friends took turns visiting. Ethan came almost every day after school. Dylan, the football player who had spoken up for me, brought me homework and told me stories about practice. Even some of the other kids from PE class stopped by to say they were sorry they had not done more to help. I did my schoolwork online, watching lectures from my bedroom. It was lonely sometimes, frustrating to be stuck at home while everyone else moved forward with their senior year, but I was alive. My leg was intact. That had to count for something. By month 3, I was walking with crutches. By month 5, I did not need them anymore. I still had pain, especially when the weather turned cold. Dr. Ramirez said that might be permanent, a reminder of what my body had been through. But I was walking. Running was probably never going to happen again, at least not the way it used to. But walking was enough. I returned to school in February. The PE class had a new instructor, Coach Martinez. She was younger, fresh out of college, and the first thing she did when I showed up was pull me aside and ask what accommodations I needed. Not what I should be able to handle, what I needed. The difference mattered. I graduated on time with my class that June. Walking across that stage to get my diploma, even with a slight limp, felt like climbing a mountain. My mom was in the audience, crying happy tears for once. My friends cheered so loud the principal had to ask them to quiet down. I felt proud. Not just because I was graduating, but because I had survived something that tried to break me and came out the other side. Now, looking back on that experience from the perspective of someone in their mid-20s, I can see the lessons clearly. That time in my life taught me things no classroom ever could. First, trust your body. Trust your instincts. You know yourself better than anyone else ever will. When your body is screaming that something is wrong, listen to it. Do not let anyone convince you that your pain is not real. Second, authority figures can be wrong. Deeply, dangerously wrong. Just because someone has a title or experience does not mean they are infallible. If someone in power is hurting you, speak up. Find another adult who will listen. Keep speaking until someone hears you. Third, forgiveness is complicated. I do not hate Coach Harrison anymore. I think in his own twisted way he genuinely believed he was helping me. He thought toughness meant ignoring pain, pushing through, never showing weakness. But he was wrong, and his wrongness almost cost me my leg and possibly my life. I have forgiven him in the sense that I do not carry anger about it anymore. But I will never forget what he did, and I will never let it happen to someone else if I can help it. Fourth, real strength is not about pushing through pain that is screaming at you to stop. Real strength is asking for help, standing up for yourself, surviving. I was strong long before I stood up to Coach Harrison. I was strong every day I woke up in pain and still tried to live my life. Strength is not about never breaking. It is about how you put yourself back together afterward. These days, I work in a field where I can help people who are going through their own struggles. I have dedicated my life to making sure people are heard when they say something is wrong. Every time someone tells me, "It is all in your head," I smile a little, because I know the difference between pain that is imagined and pain that is real. And I will never let anyone make me doubt myself like that again. Neither should you. If you are in pain, physical or emotional, and someone is telling you it is not real, do not believe them. Trust yourself. Find someone who will listen. Keep fighting until you get the help you need. Your pain matters. Your experience matters. You matter. So here's what I want to know. Have you ever been in a situation where someone in authority did not believe you when you needed help? Drop a comment below and share your story. And if this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe so you do not miss future videos. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, someone who is struggling to be heard. Together, we can make sure fewer people go through what I did. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helps someone out there feel less alone. Stay strong, trust yourself, and never let anyone tell you that your pain does not matter. Take care, and I will see you in the next one.